all of us. It was very interesting because when he initially gave me the information about doing Mundus Cerealis, he was talking about these sacred spaces that come, and he can tell you more about it, that come from this ancient Greek-Roman concept of sacred grounds out in the sort of the countryside. But in his approach of painting, what he has done traditionally over the years of painting these very beautiful scenes of farms on these bucolic lands, he started finding himself painting the encroachment of industry. And it shifted his thinking. And although some of these forms were much more interesting to paint, such as the cell phone towers and so forth, it also is a bittersweet experience for all of us, because we see the beautiful paintings, but we also see this tension of the world that we have always seen so perfectly being imposed upon by man in a different way than we're accustomed to seeing plein air paintings. So it's very, very cool. And so seeing his work, all of a sudden what he had written and what he conceptualized from the beginning was sort of morphed and changed a little bit. And isn't that always the best part about the process of creating, is that what you start with isn't always what you end up with, even better. So we're delighted to have Terry here. He's going to talk for about half an hour and answer any questions that you have and share with you some of the stories behind these paintings. And I just want to thank you all for coming and supporting the museum and being a part of our programming and a part of the exhibits that we're putting on. So please help me welcome Terry DeLapp.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Laura. I wish you'd keep talking. It was great. I would like to thank the museum staff. They've been great help, Laura especially, and Sharon Kyle and Ruga and Wendy down there. Thank you very much. And thank all the people for attending. Before we get started, I know that there is a burning question amongst all of you. There are two burning questions. The first one is, what the hell is Mundus Cerealis? And the second one is it contagious? Now, I hope it is. I hope you all get it. As far as the first one goes, Mundus Cerealis is obviously a Latin term. I think most of us are familiar with Latin one way or another. This is a very erudite crowd, so we know Latin phrases. There's habeas corpus, means I want to get out. Nolo tendi, nolo contendi means I quit. Delirium tremens mean I should quit. And then, of course, there is habemus etna, and that means, do you have insurance? Mundus Cerealis is none of those. Mundus Cerealis, literally translated, means the world of Ceres. Ceres being the Roman goddess of agriculture. And the Romans stole the Greek goddess Demeter, or Demeter, depending if you say tomato, tomato. And they liked her so much that they renamed her Ceres, which took care of the tomato-tomato problem. And they put her in charge of agriculture because Demeter was the goddess of agriculture. So not only that, they made her the goddess of fertility. And in addition, made her connect to the underworld in various forms. I don't exactly know what, but it was heavy. So being a goddess, an important goddess, they decided to build temples to Ceres. And these temples were not built in the ordinary way. They weren't built marble up in civic places. They were built in farmlands, and they were not built up, they were built down. They were dug into the ground. The logic being, of course, if you want to contact Ceres, growing things, down in the ground is where you would meet up with her. So these excavations as such, they were out in the farmlands, and they were called Mundus Serialis. Now, there was 3 days a year that they celebrated, and they were even with the growing seasons. One of them's right about now. Those were also called Mundus Serialis. So that's how that came about. Now, as far as it reflects on me, when I was asked to do the show, I immediately thought of a theme. I like to do a theme, and as Maura said, I do paintings for a show, not out of inventory. It's sort of a beginning to end, a theme. And my theme was the farmlands roughly from Bakersfield to Modesto on 99. The little towns that go along there. I've painted a lot of farm pictures, but these are very specific. So I needed the theme, I got the theme, and every good theme deserves a title. So I was trying to think of what it would be, and there I was one day surfing the net, so to speak, and I came across Mundus Serialis. This was in connection with some Latin translations that I was doing into ancient Greek literature. That's not true. I just stumbled upon it. As a matter of fact, I was looking at something else or for something else that we really can't discuss tonight. But I love the term. And I thought, you know, it fits so beautifully because when I'm out in the field looking at these farms, when I'm traveling around, I'm struck by the architectural look of it. And so many of them have a very, very iconic, symbolic look to them. The farms are invariably pyramids, and the silos and the granaries and everything, they assume a shape, especially when you're at a distance, of obelisks and monuments and steles, and there is a really, really monumental look about these farms. And I thought this fit perfectly because if we jump 2,000 years ahead, we still have Mundus Serialis. We still have these temples, and they are indeed temples because this is where our lifeline is. Without these farms, obviously we perish. So these become very, very important places, and I can see why they were venerated 2,000 years ago. And I decided to sort of venerate them now and celebrate them with my art. So that's how Mundus Serialis applies to me. A little bit about the work. Let me make sure I haven't forgotten anything. I don't think there's no jokes here. Now we'll have to move on. There's something funny will happen. How this, what my work is, I'd like to explain my work a little bit. I'm what is called, among other things, a neo-tonalist painter. Referring back to my native ancient Latin, neo means new and different. Tonalist is a different thing. A tonalist painter is one, simply put, paints in tones. A tone is a color mixed with black, and a tint is a color mixed with white. So we have tonalists and we have tintalists. Not really, they don't like that term, but that's too bad. So the tonalist approach was a very, very American art movement that started in the mid-19th century and became extremely important and was reaching its zenith around 1880, 1890, when Impressionism reared its ugly head and took care of everything. But tonalism still perseveres. You'll see why. It goes right on in. It lends itself very, very well throughout the ages. It goes right on up to abstract painting. with the work of Mark Rothko and then